I really like your excitement and engagement on that. Taking this a step further, assume you have a big company, for example, in Germany, and people who are tasked with data governance. What would be your recommendation to the data governance team to allow such experimentation and innovation?
Data governance at the end is everything. If you don't have governance, you have anarchy, and you cannot, as a company, you cannot work with your data at the end. I would say it's like traffic. I mean, if you have a bigger city, you need traffic rules. You need traffic lights. You need signs. Otherwise, you have a mess. You have a chaos, and you cannot go from A to B. Same with data in an organization. Without rules and governance, it will end in a mess. You don't find anything. You don't know what is allowed. You doing things which are not allowed, etc. So data governance today is one of the most important things in organizations. I would tell this to the team, say you are on a very, very central point for the success of our organization.
Thanks a lot, Christoph.
Yeah, talking about governance being, without governance, there is anarchy. So the same applies also to software architecture. Yeah, yes. I mean, if everyone can do whatever they want, sure. I mean, it's a catastrophe. Yeah. But now, I mean, it's maybe not a catastrophe, but it's really fast, bad. Right? But I mean, in software architecture, I'm just citing here Martin Fowler. Martin Fowler said once, governance, it's a scary word, and you can see it in two different ways. One way would be, it's hard rules, it's you have to do it, it's if you don't apply to the rules, you get in trouble. The other one is guidance. We help you making decision. It's like decision scaling. We have guardrails for you, but you have to use those guardrails. Is it in data the same that you say the governance is guardrails? Maybe you can break them once in a while, but usually you should stick to them in 98% of the cases.
Depends on the reliability you want to have, right?
For example, there are very strict rules how you use personal information. And you cannot just, there are the 2% where I just looked into the salary, paycheck, or I got this information. No, you can't do this. Maybe it depends a bit. Maybe there are areas where you say, 80% is fine for me, right? Yeah, and in particular, if you go with AI is capable of understanding data, even if the data quality is not perfect. So then you could say, 80% of the address data is fine. That's good enough. Perfect, right? But in other things, look at governance, banking, public service, you cannot allow this. So I think it really depends on the use cases.
Yeah. I mean, in software architecture, it's similar. I mean, if you have some sort of authentication, I mean, or also data protection rules, there is no. I mean, you could say it's guidance, but it's actually set in stone. Rules. Yeah. It's just a nicer word for rules.
Right. Maybe another nice example to this, and this brings us back to the very beginning of our talk, and it's a completely different domain. It's again the music. And I told you that I'm playing jazz, and jazz actually is very interesting because it gives people the utmost freedom. Jazz is improvisation. But it's not everybody can play whatever he wants. That is cacophony. That is catastrophe. So you have this kind of rules. So everybody in the band knows exactly what is the form. For example, what are the harmonies? So you have a structure. But inside the structure, everybody who is improvising has the freedom to express in the second. That's a great balance between regulation and also freedom, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we in a microservice world, we have something called the macro architecture and the micro architecture. And the macro architecture basically defines the rules you have to apply. Yeah.
Right.
Alex looks like he wants to say something about it.
No, I was just reading a comment from Simon Harrer earlier today.
Okay.
It's couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I look at this actually more like a zoo, right? It's if your business is large enough, you I think it's a trap to strive for too much order. It's you have very different demands and very different like requirements and cultures that you have in a very large org. And if you're trying to set rules for everybody, there's a good chance it will kind of only fit for half of it.
Yeah.
And so I think building like in microservice governance and in data governance, giving enough freedom for adjustment is something to consider. Also, with regards to innovation speed, I think we are at a time where I think that in the LLM world, at least, or AI world, like speed to market, experimentation speed is, I think, the most important thing you have to enable. And the biggest slowdown on a lot of this kind of greenfield experimentation projects are governance rules that you kind of have to have before you can like touch certain things, move stuff to production, and so on. So, like, I think a lot about like, how can we balance this? How can you allow this iteration? How can you kind of give flexibility to different bits of the business? And at the same time, like, you don't want the crazy, and if you are not having enough, nobody can talk to each other. So you get crazy slow because of incompatibilities.
That's exactly what I was looking at.
Exactly
Heinrich.
what you're saying, Heinrich. As you said in the beginning, you cannot regulate everything and every detail. At data mesh, there's another very important principle. That's what we call federated governance, and that is like a state, like a democracy. You don't manage everything on the same level.
Yeah.
You have some fundamental things you manage on the top level. That is valid for everybody. But on the lower level, you manage more in another granularity, more details. Like on a state or in a city or in a household, right? You manage different things.
I love that picture.
Yeah.
You manage the like general interfaces, how things are supposed to play together, and
guidelines,
the individual parts have
you manage
detail.
on a high level, but the details, how you move bits and bytes and what does it mean, maybe on a domain level, right? Or even on a data product level.
Getting back to your picture, Heinrich, I was actually looking for these data governance rules where you say better not mix the lions and the giraffes because it won't play out well.
Yeah, maybe a cultural mixture. I mean,
I'm not sure, but like, I don't know. Are there any such rules, Christoph, where you say, well, that's never a great idea?
Probably. Nothing comes to my mind at the moment.
Too distracted from the picture of the lions.
I would say the human rights of data, probably, right? There's probably some principles you should never do, but I don't know at the moment, to be honest, right?
Okay. No, I need to laugh because we were discussing architecture principles the other day, and I referred to the Charter of Human Rights in terms of don't
data.
Yeah.
There's some parallels maybe.
Yeah. But looking at architecture principles, in software architecture, we don't call it. I've never heard the term federated architecture governance, but we have the subsidiarity. I hope I say it correctly. Subsidiarity. I think that's the correct pronouncement, and it means exactly that. You manage. You have rules on different levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you always want to have to make the decisions on the lowest possible layer. That's the idea, but some decisions have to be made on the top. Yeah.
Right.